Hello Year 7 and welcome to Lesson 4 of Science this week, which is on word equations. So write down your title, which is at the top there, Word Equations for Chemical Reactions. Write down the date and underline both. Keep it neat, keep it lovely. Your learning objective today is you're going to learn how to write word equations for chemical reactions. Your keywords are there at the bottom. Chemical reaction, equation, reactants and products. And as a starter, just get your brain working. How many words can you make from the word reactants? I'm really bad at these. You might be better at it. Give yourself a minute. See how many words you can make. So we're thinking about word equations today, and to do that we have to think about chemical reactions. So I'd first like you to cast your mind back to your previous lessons and think, what is a chemical reaction? In our last lesson, we were thinking about the differences between chemical reactions and physical changes. So perhaps you can remember an example of a chemical reaction. You can write that down in your book. Think about some examples that we had in our previous lesson. Even better if you already know, can you name the reactants and can you name the products? If you're not able to do that at this moment in time, you're going to leave it and you're going to come back to it at the end of the lesson. And at the end of the lesson, you should be able to name which are the reactants and which are the products. So remember about a chemical reaction, these are things that are often, not always, but often irreversible. And these are ones in which molecules are rearranged to give something new that you didn't have to begin with. So we're going to look at one of these chemical reactions in action. This is burning hydrogen in oxygen gas. So in this one, you're going to see a balloon full of hydrogen gas. And when you burn something, what you're doing is you're reacting it with oxygen. So this is hydrogen reacting with oxygen in a balloon, and you're going to see what happens. After you have watched the reaction, keep watching because we're then going to write the word equation. And here you can see the reaction taking place in slow-mo. And something that you get here, you get a product, you get something that is made, but actually in this video you can't see it. However, I want you to start thinking about when you add hydrogen to oxygen, hydrogen and oxygen, what sort of molecule do you get? You might already know this, so just have a think. So did you figure it out? Were you thinking, hydrogen plus oxygen, we've got H and O, H2O. H2O is what? It is water. So our product in that reaction is water. So this is what you're going to have to start writing down. We're going to write down the word equation for this. There are rules when you are writing word equations because you have to write them in certain ways. You write the reactants on the left-hand side. That's what you start with. So in this one, it is hydrogen plus, a bit like you're doing a calculation, plus oxygen. But then instead of an equal sign, you do an arrow because hydrogen and oxygen together goes to water. It makes water, and you use an arrow in this. So copy down the word equation for this in your books. And can you note, like I have here, which side are the reactants and which side is the product? Okay, so now this is your turn to write a word equation. I'd like you to use a periodic table to identify the reactants and products in the reaction that makes carbon dioxide. If you don't have a periodic table and you'd like to use one, just Google up periodic table. Or perhaps you don't need one because perhaps you can just use the word carbon dioxide to think, what do those words sound like? What elements are going to combine to make carbon dioxide? If you think you know, write it out as a word equation using, remember your symbols, a plus and an arrow. How did you do? Did you figure out it is carbon plus oxygen goes to carbon dioxide? Carbon and oxygen are our reactants and carbon dioxide is the product that's made. We're going to look through some more examples of word equations for chemical reactions. Before we do that, it would be helpful if you write down this one as an example so that you can refer back to that example if you get stuck on these next ones. So this example writes out a reaction in word form. So if copper oxide is heated with magnesium, it will react to form magnesium oxide and copper. We can write this as a simple word equation and then it shows it down below. Copper oxide plus magnesium goes to magnesium oxide plus copper. Now, all of the information there was in the sentence above. We're not asking you to figure out what's going to be made. It's all up there in the sentence above. So you just have to figure out which are the reactants, which ones go on the left, and which are the products, which ones go on the right. So write out that example, label the reactants, label the products, and then get ready for the next ones that you're going to have a go at. So for each of these following ones, you are going to write a word equation and you are going to highlight the reactants in one colour and the products in a different colour. Don't forget to make it obvious which ones are the reactants, which ones are the products. Maybe do a key down the side so we can see the colours that you've used. This is the first one. We're going to do it all together. So reaction 1. Sam mixed together some eggs, milk and flour. When he heated them in a large pan, they reacted to form a big pancake. So reading that sentence, I'm seeing that Sam is mixing together eggs, milk and flour. That's what Sam is starting with. So they are my reactants. They are going to go on the left. So I'm going to write eggs plus milk plus flour. And then it says they reacted to form a big pancake. So my product is a pancake. So I'm going to do an arrow. It goes to pancake at the end. And that is my word equation. Have a go at writing the word equation for this one. When Katrina dropped a lump of magnesium into a test tube of hydrochloric acid, the chemical magnesium chloride was formed. Katrina also noticed hydrogen gas being formed. Pause the video, read the sentence, see if you can write a word equation. Here's what you should have got. It should be hydrochloric acid plus magnesium goes to magnesium chloride plus hydrogen. Remember, all of the information is in the sentence above. You don't need to figure out what's going to be made. You just have to think, right, which ones are going on which side of the arrow. Reaction 3, have a go. Luke reacted a lump of calcium carbonate with some sulfuric acid. Two of the products formed were water and calcium sulfate. The other product formed was carbon dioxide. Have a go at writing a word equation. Pause the video now. Here's what you should have got. Sulfuric acid plus calcium carbonate goes to water plus calcium sulfate plus carbon dioxide, because there was that other product there as well. Remember, you should be labelling your products in one colour and your reactants in a different colour. So just go back, make sure you're doing that, and do it for the following ones. Reaction 4. Bradley heated some copper turnings with some sulphur powder very strongly in a test tube. At the end of the experiment, he had copper sulfide. Pause the video, try to write the word equation. Here's what you should have had. Copper turnings plus sulfur goes to copper sulfide. See how you did, make sure it's colour-coded, and check it if you need to make any corrections. This is the second to last one. Well done if you're still with me and you're still trying hard. Good. Miloš put a brand new iron nail outside and studied it for several weeks. He noticed that gradually the surface of the nail became coated with rust. He read in a science book that the chemical name for rust is iron oxide. This is a tricky one because we've got an iron nail and it's going to iron oxide, but what is it reacting with to make it go to iron oxide? So have a think about this one. Okay, if you got this right, I'm super impressed. The answer here is iron plus oxygen goes to iron oxide, because you have to get that oxygen in there to make it iron oxide. Well done, we're coming to our last one now. Okay, this is our most challenging one, so listen to it carefully, see if you can do it. Shona was learning about photosynthesis. She looked on the internet and found that in this process, plants take in carbon dioxide gas from the air and water from the ground. Using energy from the sun, they can turn these chemicals into a kind of sugar called glucose and the gas oxygen. A lot of information there, so pause the video and see if you can put that into your last word equation. Okay, how did you get on? This is what you should have had. It starts with carbon dioxide plus water, then it goes to glucose plus oxygen. Glucose is the sugar, and actually above the arrow, which you may not have written, and that's fine, in the photosynthesis equation, you put that light is needed for it, so you write light above the arrow. If you haven't put that in, you might want to include it. You've got a proper equation for photosynthesis. Really well done. That's all 6 reactions, and if you have done all of those, you're an absolute star. Well done. Let's have a little bit of a recap. Have you been paying attention to what the word reactants means? What does the word products mean? Can you match the sentence starters and the sentence endings here? So I want you to match up. What is a reactant, a hazard, a product, and a risk? And the sentence enders are possible sources of danger, the chances of injury from hazards, the starting substances in chemical reactions, the substances made in chemical reactions. Pause the video, match them up, see how you get on. And this is how it should look. Reactants are the starting substances in chemical reactions. Hazards are possible sources of danger. Hazard is anything that could be a source of danger. Products are the substances made in chemical reactions. Remember, those were the things that came after the arrow. That's what you make. Risks are the chances of injury from hazards. If you got 4 out of 4 on that, well done. Really, really good. If you missed any, just go back and see where you went wrong, see if you can make a correction and make sure you understand it. As always, absolutely fantastic work. So impressed with how all of you in Year 7 are working at home. Really, really well done. Now that you've listened all the way through and you've had a lot of practice on doing word equations, you are going to do so well at the worksheet that is on Edulink. So that's the end of the video, but go on to Edulink, find the worksheet, complete it please, and good luck. I'm sure you will do absolutely brilliantly. Very, very well done.